I mean, I like kind of brag on Michael Jordan here a little bit, and I think we were a similar ilk with the Jazz. Is I like where guys just tighten their belt up and say, you know what, let's go to work. We just got to get better.
Yeah.
We got to play harder. We got to play smarter instead of just, where's the grass greener? I'm going to go there and win a championship.
Yep.
I think it devalues that. You're not climbing the mountain, you're taking a helicopter to the top.
Totally agree.
John Stockton sat there calm as stone, and the way he delivered that reality check felt like someone dropping ice water on the whole league's ego. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need a big moment. He just let the truth fall straight out of his mouth like it was nothing. You're not climbing the mountain. You're taking a helicopter to the top. That line hit like a punch wrapped in velvet, and everyone knew exactly who he was talking about. It wasn't a stray comment. It was a direct message aimed at LeBron, delivered by a man who survived 19 seasons in the grind without ever running around asking for superstar backup. This wasn't some entertainer looking for attention. This was Stockton, the silent assassin who dropped 15,806 assists and never made excuses or blamed teammates for anything.
Starting in a free fall. I think the Bronny thing started the free fall. I think people around the league are looking like, yeah, you're LeBron, but you're not 27-year-old LeBron. You're not even 34-year-old LeBron. Like, you're an old man now who's dictating and destroying the Lakers because you want your son to play, and look what's happening.
So when he calls out a player for shortcut moves, it hits with a different type of force, a different type of truth. Stockton was speaking from an era where loyalty wasn't something you advertised online. Loyalty was how you lived. Staying with one squad wasn't considered wasting your prime. It was considered being built from something solid. And the way he said it made it sound like he was reminding the whole league what real commitment used to look like. Hit that subscribe button because moments like this can shake a legacy to its core. And trust me, the next parts of this story are only getting wilder from here. Now let's break down that helicopter line, because Stockton wasn't just throwing around old school talk for fun. He was pointing at a whole culture shift. How some players today look for smoother routes while he came from a world where you took every step the hard way. When Stockton says climbing the mountain, he's talking about the Utah Jazz grind. Him and Karl Malone going into battle every single year, taking hard losses from Michael Jordan, and then showing up again ready for more action like nothing could break them. They never said, let's find an easier spot to win. They stayed locked in, season after season, fighting with whatever tools they had. And when you compare that to the kind of career choices LeBron made, the picture gets way louder without anyone having to say another word. Yeah, the difference between the two careers jumps out the moment you look at it, and it hits louder than people want to admit. As soon as things got tense in Cleveland the first time, LeBron took off to Miami to team up with Dwyane Wade and Chris Bosh like he was switching levels in a video game. Then when that situation started feeling old, he slid right back to Cleveland, but this time with Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving already waiting for him. And once that squad fell apart, he blasted off to LA to roll with Anthony Davis like it was all part of some planned upgrade system. Every time the climb got tougher, he found another helicopter waiting for him. At least that's how Stockton made it sound. And the way he said it made the whole room freeze. But here's where the convo gets even heavier. Stockton wasn't just pointing out team hopping. He was talking about the difference between building something and buying something. The Jazz created their whole run piece by piece. Draft picks, development, chemistry, a real homegrown culture. It was slow, sweaty, old school work, not some overnight super team. LeBron's squads? Man, those teams came together like fast food. Big signings, mega trades, last-minute roster flips. And yeah, he won rings. Nobody denies that. But Stockton's point was deeper. How you win ends up being just as important as the trophies themselves. And what's shocking is that more people are starting to agree with that idea, even fans who used to argue against it. But before we jump deeper into that debate, there's a bigger question sitting in the middle of this whole situation that almost nobody talks about. How do we remember players once they're done? That's the real test, the retirement test. When a legend walks away and the noise dies down, you're left with the pure truth of what they really accomplished. And that's where things get tricky for LeBron. Because if you look at the pattern, it's not looking friendly. Michael Jordan's legacy didn't just stay strong after he retired. It exploded. We went from Jordan might be the GOAT to Jordan is absolutely the GOAT. to nobody is ever touching that man's throne. And every single year he gets more legendary, like a figure out of a classic story. His flu game feels even more unbelievable. That push-off on Russell gets replayed like a piece of art. Every detail turns into something bigger, something more iconic. Even Michael Jordan's losses, the painful ones like getting swept by the Celtics, somehow end up making his story feel even stronger with time. It all folds into his legend in a way that feels almost unreal, like every setback became part of a bigger myth. But with LeBron, the cracks are showing while he's still playing, and that's what makes this whole conversation so crazy. Think about it for a second. When was the last time LeBron had a performance that had you jumping out your seat, calling people, screaming like something unforgettable just happened? When was the last moment that felt like it was going straight into basketball history? Even radio hosts are saying it now. Retirement might not treat LeBron the way it treated Jordan, and that's a serious warning. LeBron's whole GOAT argument leans heavy on numbers, volume, and longevity. But the moment he steps away from the game, those stats freeze in place. And once they freeze, people stop being impressed by the totals and start digging into how he got them. Playing 21 seasons sounds legendary until you realize the last stretch was mostly just staying on the court so he could load up more numbers. Being the all-time scoring leader sounds incredible until you remember he needed more games than anybody else in history to hit that mark. And then there's the part more fans are whispering about now, the super team factor. As time moves on, more people will look back and ask the question that makes LeBron supporters uncomfortable. Wait, how many of those rings came from real grind and how many came from stacking superstar help? That's why Stockton's helicopter line is aging like top-tier wine. It's only hitting harder as the years pass. And here's the wild twist. This whole thing connects to a much bigger issue in today's game. We're talking about the authenticity crisis in sports. Stockton represents a style that's disappearing, the raw, loyal, homegrown, built-not-bought energy. And whether it's fair or not, LeBron is starting to look like the face of everything people complain about in the new athlete culture. Switching teams, picking situations, building image on the fly, chasing soft landings instead of hard climbs. And that contrast is what got the whole basketball world debating louder than ever. Stockton stayed in Utah for 19 straight years, and we gotta be real. Utah ain't exactly the place superstar players dream about when they think big city spotlight or easy endorsements. He could have forced a trade. He could have chased bright lights in LA or New York. He could have jumped to a team that was already shining. But he didn't. He stayed put, built with what he had, and kept grinding like a machine that refused to stop. LeBron's path? Man, it looks completely different. Every move feels planned out, polished, and packaged by his media circle at Clutch Sports. Even the decision didn't feel like pure basketball. It was a full-on TV event designed to boost his brand, not the game. Going back to Cleveland wasn't some emotional coming-home moment that fans try to paint it as. It looked more like image repair, a way to fix what people were saying about him. Even his social media feels processed. Clean, filtered, reviewed, approved, and stamped by a committee before it ever hits the timeline. And guess what? People are finally starting to notice. One radio host said Hall of Famers, dudes who usually stay quiet and mind their business, are suddenly breaking their silence and throwing real shots at LeBron. These legends can feel when something is genuine and when something is manufactured, and that's why they're stepping up now. They grew up in a time when the game was rugged and organic, and they're watching LeBron turn everything into a super-produced corporate performance. And here's the twist that makes this whole thing hit even harder. This authenticity issue isn't just turning off old-school players. Fans are starting to feel it too. Remember when that radio host said teams don't even seem heartbroken when LeBron leaves? That hit deep because it's true. LeBron has never been bigger than the cities he played for. He never blended into the community the way the all-time icons did. He always felt like someone just passing through, even when he delivered championships. When Jordan left Chicago, the whole city felt like it lost a family member. When Kobe retired, Los Angeles treated it like a national event. But when LeBron moves on from a team, the vibe is more like, hey, appreciate the moments. Hope it works out wherever you go next. That says everything about how people truly see him. And that takes us straight into the most ruthless part of Stockton's criticism, and he didn't even have to raise his voice to make it hit as hard as it did. This whole situation isn't just about basketball anymore. It's about character, choices, and what people call the Bronny factor. If you really want to see why LeBron's legacy is slipping in certain conversations, all you have to do is look at what's happening with his son right now, because this moment exposes exactly what Stockton was talking about. LeBron pushed the Lakers into drafting Bronny, and everybody knows Bronny wasn't the top prospect or the biggest standout in college. He didn't dominate the season. He didn't turn recruits into fans overnight. He got drafted because LeBron wanted to step on the court with him, plain and simple. And LeBron always gets his way because teams don't want the smoke of upsetting him. That move right there is the ultimate helicopter mindset. No slow climb, no grinding up the mountain, just instant elevation because of who his father is. Instead of letting Bronny carve his own lane, maybe spending real time in the G League, proving himself, earning respect, LeBron basically lifted him straight into the league, and nobody checked him because it was LeBron asking. But here's the part that stings the most, and it's the part that makes fans talk louder every day. It makes LeBron look like he'll put his own personal goals above the team's goals, no matter what. The Lakers didn't draft Bronny thinking he'd help them win games. They drafted him because they were scared LeBron might leave if they didn't, and fans aren't blind. They can see that from a mile away. People around the league are whispering the same thing. Yeah, you're LeBron, but you're not 27-year-old LeBron anymore. Now he's an older star pushing a franchise to adjust everything so his son can get minutes, and that's a tough look for anyone, especially someone chasing GOAT status. It might sound harsh, but it's reality. What LeBron is doing with Bronny looks a lot like what privileged families do everywhere, using their status to open doors their kids haven't earned yet. Most families could never dream of giving their children shortcuts like that. And it hits people differently because it feels like Bronny skipped steps everyone else has to fight through. And that connects perfectly to Stockton's whole helicopter versus mountain line. Some people climb the hard way and others get lifted straight to the top before they even prove they belong. Stockton's kids didn't get dropped into the league just because their father was John Stockton. They had to grind, fight for spots, and climb on their own terms. That's what the mountain actually looks like. Step by step. No shortcuts, no special doors opening just because of a last name. Meanwhile, the Bronny situation is only the tip of the iceberg. It's part of a bigger pattern that's been following LeBron through his entire career, and that brings us straight to the clutch sports empire. This is the part most fans don't fully understand, because LeBron isn't just a basketball player anymore. He's the head of a whole machine with reach across the entire league. Clutch Sports is more than an agency. It's a powerhouse with influence in every corner of NBA culture. So when that radio host said, Stockton does not work for Clutch Sports and will never work for Clutch Sports, they were pointing at something massive without even saying it out loud. LeBron has spent years building a network that stretches way past the court. Clutch represents a lineup of major NBA players. They have connections with huge media platforms, and they've been tied to major decisions around the league. Draft moves, free agency, coaching changes, team strategies, all of it. When LeBron wants something done, he doesn't just use his basketball status. He taps into his entire business structure to make things move. That's why someone like John Stockton can speak freely. He's not tied to the machine. He doesn't need the machine. He doesn't answer to Clutch Sports. But a lot of current players and media voices don't have that freedom. They're connected through deals, relationships, or business opportunities, and speaking against LeBron could leave them on the outside real quick. But here's the twist. Building an empire like that comes with a serious cost, and that cost shows up every time people talk about authenticity. Each time LeBron made a decision that felt business first instead of basketball first, another piece of his basketball aura chipped away. And over the years, that slow drip has turned into something fans are now openly questioning. The decision wasn't just basketball, it was a made-for-TV branding moment, crafted like a launch event instead of a hoop move. And when he went to the Lakers, it didn't feel like a pure, let me chase one more ring mission. It was about Hollywood access, business connections, and building the next lifestyle chapter. Fans feel that energy, and you can hear it everywhere. People can tell LeBron's choices aren't driven by basketball alone anymore. Everything feels calculated, tightly managed, and almost cold at times. And that's where the contrast with Stockton hits the hardest. Stockton kept everything simple. No drama, no branding plays, no business schemes. His mindset was one question: what helps us win? That was the whole formula. No empire building, no Hollywood, just basketball in Utah, straight up and untouched. And the wild part is this: every year that passes, more people are appreciating that kind of purity. It feels refreshing in a time where everything looks filtered and strategic, and that opens the door to the biggest question in this whole discussion. So here it is, the million-dollar question everyone's scared to ask out loud. Was John Stockton actually right? Is LeBron's legacy going to cool down after he retires while Jordan and Kobe keep rising higher and higher in the legend rankings? Because all the signs are flashing yes right now, and they're not subtle. It's not just about basketball anymore. It's a cultural shift. Today's fans want authenticity more than ever. They're tired of scripted moments, tired of media-trained speeches, tired of stories that feel manufactured instead of lived. They want real people with real struggles, real battles, real scars. And no matter how much success he's had, LeBron's story doesn't feel raw to people anymore. It feels strategic, polished, and packaged. Meanwhile, look at the legends fans truly attached to. They're the ones whose stories feel messy, human, emotional, and honest. Muhammad Ali gave up the prime of his career to stand on what he believed in, and people still feel that energy decades later. Jackie Robinson pushed through unbelievable levels of hate just to open doors for the next generation. Michael Jordan got knocked around by the Pistons year after year, then came back stronger than ever like he was forged in fire. These stories hit deep because they're about facing adversity head-on, not looking for the smoothest route around it. LeBron's story, for all the success, doesn't follow that path. It feels more like optimization. Every major move in his career looks perfectly calculated to avoid failure and boost the odds in his favor. And while that's smart business, it doesn't build mythical storytelling. It doesn't create that timeless aura people pass down to younger fans. And here's the part that might hit LeBron the hardest. The new generation doesn't have that emotional connection older fans had with legends like Ali, Robinson, Jordan, or Kobe. To them, LeBron looks like another superstar with a full brand team, a polished image, and moments that feel planned out instead of raw and heartfelt. They see the shine, not the passion. So when LeBron retires, he won't have an army of fans ready to defend his legacy with their whole chest the way MJ and Kobe still do today. Instead, he'll have Clutch Sports rolling out statements, promo clips, and documentary trailers. But manufactured love has an expiration date. The love that lasts forever has to come from something real. That's exactly why the radio host said that in 10 years, some people might rank LeBron 5th or even 6th all time. And honestly, that might be generous. Because once the business empire cools off and the media noise dies down, all that remains is the basketball, nothing else. And when you strip everything away and just look at the actual game, the GOAT argument for LeBron starts to wobble. Stockton climbed the mountain for 19 straight years and never reached the top, but his legacy stays rock solid because people know he gave everything he had every single season. His story feels real, human, and genuine, and that's the kind of legacy that survives forever. LeBron reached the top multiple times, no doubt about that, but his legacy is slipping because a lot of people feel like he didn't climb the mountain the hard way. He skipped steps and took the smoother route instead. That helicopter line from Stockton wasn't just a slick jab. It was a reminder of how real legends get judged, not by stacked numbers, not by super team rings, but by the character they show when the spotlight isn't even on them. LeBron spent 20 years building a massive empire. Businesses, branding, influence. But somewhere in that process, he forgot to build the kind of legacy that sticks to people's hearts. He optimized every move for success, but forgot the story behind the success. He boosted his brand to insane heights, but the authenticity took the damage along the way. And now, as his career slows down, all those shortcuts, all those strategic jumps, all those carefully planned moves, they're finally starting to show up on the scoreboard of public opinion. People are looking back and asking real questions about what mattered and what didn't. Because the mountain, it's still standing tall. And it's waiting for someone who's willing to climb it brick by brick, the hard way, with no shortcuts and no helicopter rides. Stockton never reached the top, but he's remembered as a true legend because he gave everything he had to the climb every single year. LeBron reached the top more than once, but he might end up remembered as the guy who always found the shortcut to get there. And in the end, that's the real difference between being great and being remembered as great. Stockton just reminded the whole world which one actually matters. If this breakdown gave you a fresh angle on the game, hit that like button, drop a comment, share this video, and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next deep dive. See you on the next one.